Once you have all your files saved in the correct format, for still images, JPEG is probably the best bet. For dynamic media, it should be MP4. Now we can go and open up iMovie, and chances are you're going to see a window like this, but it probably won't be populated with all these thumbnails from previous projects. Before we actually start our new movie, we're going to make a couple of changes to the preferences. I'm going to go to iMovie, Preferences, and for photo placement, I'm going to ask it to fit. And all that will do is force any images that I add to my movie timeline to automatically fit to fill up the frame without things getting cut off. And photo duration. How long will each still image appear by default? And I'm going to select 2.5 seconds. So you can type that value in, 2.5, and press enter. You might choose a different value. That's up to you. And then I can close that dialog box. And now I can ask for a new movie. I'm going to click the plus button, and I want a movie, not a trailer. If this is the first time someone's been using iMovie on your computer, this is what you might see. A big import media arrow, and everything's sort of ready for you to start creating your movie. If, however, you see something else, and you see this area, this media area filled with little clips and things happening over here, just go to where it says Project Media, click on My Movie, because that's the new movie you asked to create, and then you should be back to what we see here now. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to import media. So we're going to click on this little arrow. And in this dialog, notice it's just like a save or an open dialog box. And I can click on desktop, and that's where I can find my folder full of portfolio clips. So I can click on that, and rather than open it up, I can simply select that folder because it contains all the material I want to use, and I click Import Selected. And there's all the clips that I had in that folder. Before we actually start to add these clips to our movie timeline down in this area, I want to point out a couple of things. One is that whenever you want to take a look at a clip, you don't have to click and drag, you don't even have to select the clip. All you have to do is let your mouse run on top of a clip and it will show you what it looks like. And of course with the still image, you're not going to see anything moving. But with a dynamic clip, your movie clips, you can actually scrub back and forth to preview that motion. Before we start adding our clips into our timeline, we're going to add a title to identify what this is and whose it is. So we clicked on titles, and there's all these different presets. And again, you can preview what they look like just by moving your mouse across them. And I'll leave it up to you to choose the one that you like. We want to keep it very simple. And I'm going to choose this one. So I'm going to click on it. And I'm going to click and drag and drop it into my timeline area. And notice the moment I do that, the text becomes editable. So I'm going to put my name and what this is. I could say graphic design portfolio. I can just abbreviate it to say portfolio. I can change the size of the text if I want to create a little more difference. I can change color. There's a few changes I can make, but there's lots about these little preset titles that you can't alter at all. So make sure you make a choice that you're happy with before you start trying to edit it. Now that they've made those changes, again, I can just move my cursor through my project window and it shows me what that will look like. So it fades in with the line and then fades out at the end. Now that I have my title in place, I can start adding my media, my clips, my portfolio pieces. So I can click and drag and drop them into my timeline area one at a time, but I know I want to use all of them, and it's not like there's 100 of them, so I'm going to add them all in at once, and then if I want to rearrange them once they're in that timeline window, I can do that very easily. So now all my clips are in my timeline window, but you'll notice that I can't see them all without scrolling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out, which doesn't change the size of the clips or the movie, it just changes the size of the thumbnails as they appear in this timeline area. And notice again, I can preview what's happening with my movie. simply by moving my cursor through this little timeline area. I can rearrange the clips simply by clicking on a clip to select it, and you'll notice it has the yellow around it, and I can click and drag and drop it into a new place, and everything automatically shuffles for me. If it's a piece of dynamic media, we would handle it much the same way we would in Photoshop, which is clicking on the clip to make it active, and I can position my cursor at the beginning or end, and click and drag to shorten it. So I'm going to shorten this to just before the little Frankenstein monster turns around. Now, when we changed our preferences earlier, we asked every clip to have a default duration, time on screen, of 2.5 seconds. And when we hover our cursor over a clip, depending upon how big it is, right, you can see that it says 2.5 seconds, 2.5 seconds. When I hover over this clip, it says it's 8 seconds. So for some reason, some clips just seem determined to be on screen longer than others. And we can change that a couple of different ways. One is to select the clip and click and drag it, the same way we would shorten a dynamic clip. Sometimes it might be easier, though, to select the clip, and then we can click on I for info here just above the preview area. And here it says duration. I'm going to change that to 2.5 so it matches up with the rest. And once I enter that new value in, I want to press enter to enter in that change. I'm going to do the same thing with this clip, which is also currently 8 seconds. I want to change it to 2.5, press enter, and now all my clips are all the same length. Before I decide I'm done with my movie, I'm going to make sure that I preview it. And the way I can preview it is simply moving to the very beginning of the timeline, clicking so that I see that little white indicator mark, and press my space bar. When I do that, it starts to play back my movie. And this is a really good opportunity for you to determine whether or not your any given clip is on screen for long enough or maybe even too long. I'm just going to let this play all the way to the end. You also want to keep in mind that one of the goals of this portfolio is you want to give people an opportunity to take a look at the work. So you don't want to give them way too much time, but you don't want to give them so little time that each image is flashing by in the blink of an eye. So assuming that I'm happy with my movie, I'm ready to export it as a movie file. What's nice about working in iMovie is we don't have to save, it automatically saves. So every time I make a change, it automatically saves at that point. When you're ready to save your movie file, we're going to go to File, Share. And there's all sorts of different defaults depending upon where you plan to use your movie or place it, post it, upload it, etc. But I think for our purposes, the easiest thing to do is to go to File. And here we have only a few choices. This is the smallest movie size that we have available here. So this would be a really good size if you want to place a copy of the finished movie onto your phone or other sort of smaller mobile device. If you wanted to create a version of your portfolio so that it plays back nice and big on a desktop computer, then this would be a good choice. So we're going to start off with a small choice. We're going to click Next. We're going to give it a much better name than my movie. So I'm going to name mine Buchanan _ portfolio. I click Save. And it's going to take a while to create the video file. And if you're wondering how the progress is coming along, you can direct your gaze to the upper right corner, just above the preview window, and there's a circle right now. But if we wait, we'll start to see it starting to look like a pie graph or a pie chart. And that's just indicating how much longer it's going to be until we have a finished movie. Once that circle got filled in all the way, it means that our movie is finished. We can quit iMovie at this point. We can hide iMovie, maybe keep it open in case we take a look at our finished video and think, oh, maybe there's some changes we want to make. So here's my finished movie file. And I can preview it a whole bunch of different ways, but probably the simplest way is to simply just click on it once, press your space bar, and it opens up in that special little preview mode, and then you can watch your movie. If you're happy with it, hand it in, copy it to your phone, email it to yourself. You're done.